Okay, this is gonna be a basic video when we review and practice how to add objects to an array list. Okay, I want this concept to be clear for everyone. So first of all, you need to know how to create an array list and how to create an object. So let's gonna create a simple class, employee class. Okay, just with two attributes, two data fields. So let me new class employee, the class public, and that's it. Okay, this is the class employee. Okay, now we're gonna define two attributes. Okay, okay, we're gonna define, for example, a string, uh, the employee name, um, the department. Okay, you have two data fields, two attributes. Okay, now you know how to create a constructor with fields or overload a constructor. You know that. You know how to create the getter and the setters. Now that you know that, we can do that really quick. Right click within the class employee. I right click on the line 7, for example, and then I go here to source and then generate constructor using field. I want to generate the overloader constructor, the constructor with data fields. And then the clicks is going to tell me, hey, two attributes, two data field, yes. And then I want to make that public, the constructor public for sure. So we can use that, right? Um, I want to mention the super constructor later in my next video when I talk about inheritance. Okay, just for now, leave it like this. So publics, because we want other classes, other program access the constructor. This is why we make that public, right? So generate. Dun, 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 dun. We have now the constructor, overloader constructor, or constructor with data field here generated by Eclipse. Oh, I need to generate the getter and the setter. Okay, right click, source, generate getter and setters. Select all. So you're going to generate the getter and the setter for all the data fields in this class. So you have 10 data fields. It's going to generate automatically for you the getter and the setters. And then add modifier. Remember, now you are learning about encapsulation and data hiding, right? A powerful feature of object-oriented programming, right? So we're gonna protect our data field or attribute, right? Making that private. So nobody's gonna be able to have direct access to these attributes just using our methods that we're gonna create. So you can make that private, right? So, and then generate. Oh, sorry. I didn't want to do that. I wanna make private the attribute. So let me see, it should be another option. Hold on a second. Source, generate getter and setter, accessor, public. It should be something about in other editor like NextBeans, for example, they'll allow you to select the data field. This is the access modifier. Anyway, it's gonna generate that. It's gonna generate the getter and the setter, and it's gonna make that private. Okay, it's a good best practice for encapsulation and hiding data. Okay, so everyone will have to use the set name or the set department if we want to modify the name and the department. So we can add more logic inside here just to, if the department is valid, we're going to modify that. Otherwise, in run data. So I'll explain that in other videos. But this is the idea when you define a class. See that with the clicks, we created a class immediately, right? Okay, now I have the employee class. So I can create objects. So let's gonna define another class, the driver class, application class. You can call driver class, you can call application. So let me call driver, okay? And this driver class is gonna have the main method. We need the main method because we're gonna run our code. If you notice in our class, the template employee, there was not main method. It's just a class, a template, a blueprint when that you're gonna use to create objects. So now the driver class or application class, it's I selected here to incorporate the main method because the main method is the starting point of execution of your code. So when you run your program in Eclipse is going to try to identify where is the main method and execute line by line the instructions that are inside the main method. Okay, so let's gonna select that and finish. Okay, I have the driver class here, so I can create objects. Okay, so I can create an object, employee, right? It's gonna call employee one equal, oops, sorry, typo, new employee. Let's gonna see the first employee. Let's gonna call Omar. Department, for sure, working IT, right? Okay, let's gonna create another employee. Gonna create John. He's my partner, so let's gonna work in IT as well. Okay, just create two. Okay, so you can continue creating objects. So you're gonna have employee one, employee two, three, four, five. You're gonna create 5 objects. You can have 5 reference variables, right? And how can you visualize the object, right? So system that out that bring time, and you can say here employee, right? Concatenation, and now set employee one dot that get name employee Omar, for example, work in the concatenation employee one dot get department. So now just gonna see the output. Run the application. Employee Omar works in IT. Let me copy and do the same thing for the other employee. It was employee two, right? Let me run again. Perfect. Right? Okay. But what happens if we wanna store the object in a list? Okay, let's gonna create a list. Array list, right? when you create an array list, you have to specify the type of object that you're going to store in the list. So list of what? In this case, we're going to add here the list of employees. So you will have to type inside the diamond operators, greater, less than the name of the class. So Java knows that you're going to store employee objects in the list. It's going to call list equal new array list of employee, right? Oh, now we need to add the functionality in Java to manage array lists. So we need to import array list, right? So we can click here, import array list from which path? Java util array list. So it's gonna remember the import first package, then import, and then your class. This is the order. Okay. So now we have a list. So now how can we add object to our list? Easy. What is the name of our list? List, right? So sorry. The name of our list is emp list. If you want to add dot add, okay? Now, what do I have to write here inside parentheses? Okay, see the definition. You are defining an array list of employees, right? So you want to add in the list employees object. Checking your code. In which part of your code you create the object? Oh, here. Okay, the first object was created and we are using the reference variable emp1 to to manipulate the objects. So you can write inside the parentheses emp1. So you're gonna add the first object to the list. You can repeat this instruction to add the second employee. So to add object is really easy. Just the name of the list, the reference variable for the list, dot add, and inside the parentheses, the reference variable that is pointing to your object, the reference variable that you are using to manipulate your object. So which reference variable? In this case, we use emp1 and emp2 to manipulate the two objects that we're creating, right? So now, let's gonna coming out this part. Okay, so we created two objects. We add the object to the list. So we can play system.out dot spring line, right? And here we're gonna use emp list. This is the name of your list, right? Now, remember, to add the element in the list, you use get. Parentheses. Inside the parentheses, when you use get, you have to specify the location of the object. The first object is stored in the first location. What is the first location in the list? Index 0, always. Next location, index 1. Next, index 2, and so on. So if you want to see the first object in your list, the index is 0. Let me show you. So now, you are positioning in your list in the first object. But what do you want to see for this object? The name, the department? Let's want to see the name. Now type dot, and you're going to see get name. So get 0 is the location in the list when you are storing the first object. So in this position, you have the object. So if you have the object, you can use get name, get department, set name, set department. You can use whatever you define for this object because you are in this location in the list when you can manipulate the object. The array list is saving the object there, okay? So you can use this location get 0 to manipulate the first object. So you can use the getter, the setter, whatever you define in your class employee in this example. Get name. So it should be Omar, right? It's gonna run. Omar. If you use get one, you're gonna get John, right? John. Okay, Professor, I don't visualize that. Let's gonna visualize that in my whiteboard. Okay, you create the employee list, right? This is the basic explanation. The next video is gonna be a deeper explanation that is more sophisticated. For this class, I guess with this explanation is enough. But if you wanna learn more, see my next video, okay? So now, we create a list. I'm gonna do something. Nice. Let me delete that. Let me copy this code here to my whiteboard. Perfect. So I can draw. Yeah. Okay. Right. This is my list. Everyone visualize the list now? Okay. What is the index for the first element in the list? 0, always. Same thing that you learn with arrays. Arrays or array list, the index is 0. Let me put format. What is format? Okay. Okay, let me put now much better. Okay. First index, let me put here. Right? The second element is going to have the index 1 and so on. Right? Correct? Okay. So now, what happened? What happened? Okay. So we create the employee objects, right? We have the employee in the variable emp1, right? What happened when we execute we add using the list, emp list, add emp1. What we're doing here is, let me do something here. You are adding emp1 here. Okay? So it's like you add in there. So now, if you use emp list that gets 0, right? You are seeing the object emp1, right? get 0, the index. So you are seeing the first object. Now, if you wanna get the name for the department, what do you use? Get name, right? So you can use here dot get name. When you use that, you're gonna get Omar. Okay, this is a simple explanation. Okay, so you define your class first, employee in this case, so you can create objects, and then after creating the object, you can add the object to the list. And then you can manipulate that. So you can add more objects. For example, can I create another object? Robert working finance, financial aid, for example. Kevin, human report, for example. Right? 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 Okay. Professor, but I don't wanna repeat and repeat and repeat. So I know that it's work, but guess we are repeating many things, and you taught us that when we repeat things, we can create a loop, right? Yes, it's just because I am explaining that basically. So what can we do? You know that this is a repetition. You know that the index starts at 0 and increment by 1. Okay, this is a perfect candidate for a for loop. For 0 less than what? The size of your list. How many elements are in your list? In this case, how many objects do we add? 4 objects, right? So the size is 4. Don't confuse with the index. The index always is going to be, the last index is going to be size minus 1 because we start the index at 0. So how many elements are in the list now? 4. But you can add another element, add more. So you dynamically have to know what is the size. So easy. The name of your list, that size. So now from 0, less than 4. And then increment by 1, right? Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to take advantage of the index. What is the index? I. So the first time that the index rank is going to be 0. Next time 1. Next time 2. Next time 3. So it's the same thing that we were doing hard coding. We're going to delete that. Just one for loop. It's going to run. Perfect. So you can add here concatenation. Omar plus work in the plus list that get the same index, remember, same index, get departments. Omar worked in the IT, human resources, department. Yep. Let me see. Let me run. See that? So we were able to display all the objects that are in our list. So if you add another object, if you add another object, for example, employee 5, okay? Let's gonna add, for example, David. We can add David that work, for example, in the financial department, financial, okay? So let's gonna add David to the list. David is gonna be the employee 5, right? Okay. Now let's gonna run our code. David appear there. Professor, I guess we are creating a lot of variables. What happens if we create an employee and add immediately the employee to the list? Excellent. So let's gonna do something. Let's gonna use one variable, emp1, or you want emp. Okay, okay, professor. But how can we're gonna keep the objects? Don't worry, we are adding the object to the list. So you create the object, add the object to the list. So now you can create another object and using the same variable. Don't worry about the variable. Let's gonna reuse the variable. So the other object that was using EMP, bye-bye. But before bye-bye, right? So create the object. EMP is a variable. Add the employee to the list. You are saving the object in the list. Don't worry about EMP now. Create another object. Now add the object to the list. Okay. So now continue doing the same thing. So now create object, add object to the list. Create object, add object to the list. Create object, add object to the list. So you don't need to create a lot of variables, just once, because you're saving all the objects in your list. So now it's gonna be just em here. We don't need that, right? Because we already added. And this is our code now. So what I did wrong here, add here. Oh, okay. See here, we are creating, we can optimize the code doing like this. Employee EMP. And now you just use the variable because you created the variable at the beginning. You don't need to create a variable a lot of time. Just reuse that. And let's gonna see if that works. Professor, I don't get it. Why just one variable? So you create the object employee. Which object? Omar that work in IT, right? Using which variable? A variable. A variable can change. This is the purpose of a variable. You can modify the content of your variable, right? Okay, the first time you are using EMP to hold the object Omar that work in IT. Now, save Omar that work in IT in your list, so you don't need EMP anymore. How can we access to the object? Using the list that get. All the objects were saved here in the list. When you add, you are adding Omar IT here. When you add the second, you add John IT here. So you are gonna save all the objects in your list. We're gonna save the reference variable, that is the location where the objects are in the computer memory. But this is gonna be the second video, that is gonna be deeper explanation. This is the only thing that you need to know for this class. Things simple. Every time that you add the object, you are saving the object in the list. That's it. How can you access the object using the name of your list that get? Of course, inside the parentheses, the element 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending of the object that you save in your list. Okay, this is a simple explanation for loop also to retrieve that. So I hope this video helped you to understand much better to add objects in ArrayList. Let me stop recording.